Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome to the Networking RX podcast. I'm your host, Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. Today, I have another great guest. I have Jeff Lord on with me today. He was introduced to the personal development world at an early age, and he's had many highly successful mentors and coaches throughout his life and career, starting with his father. And they taught him the value of building relationships and how to network by giving value to others. He's been in sales for 20 plus years, loves it because he loves people and he loves solving problems by simplifying the complicated. He's a relationship-driven connector of people, and he wants to positively impact 10 million people. In his spare time, you will catch him spending time with his wife and 4 children. He's up in McHenry County, Illinois, which is kind of lake country in northern Illinois, or at least in that area. And he loves reading positive and inspirational books. Just as kind of a backstory, Jeff and I were introduced by another awesome networker, Dan Horwich, and we just hit it off. Jeff's never written a book. He's not on the speaking circuit, but before we started recording this, we talked for an hour and 15 minutes. We're just on networking. So, Jeff, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Frank, for having me. It's a pleasure to be on this, and I'm really, really excited to have this conversation.
If I recall, I knew you grew up in Hawaii, at least part of the time, and I think your parents were magicians, if I recall. If I'm listening, if I keep my people straight. But you know a lot about networking just through experience, right?
Yeah. I was very, very fortunate. My dad was my first, mentor in business, and my parents were very supportive of everything I was doing and my goals. And what I found out early, through my dad being that mentor, was he was in the insurance business, and everything he did was building relationships. And I understood that because we worked through centers of influence. And because of that, it was everybody wanted to talk to the influencer. Everybody wanted to talk to the center of influence and say, give me all your clients. And they don't do that. They say, no, that's not going to happen, because they're very protective. And what I saw my dad do differently than what I saw a lot of people do was spend the time. And he took the time and spent the time to get to know people and educate and help them and guide them through their process over time. And that's when the referrals came. That's when you'd get an opportunity. And once you get one opportunity, you had a chance. You could either totally screw it up and never get an opportunity again for that person, or you do a really great job and now more opportunities will come your way. And I was able to see that really, really young. And I understood the value. And that's why I love just meeting people, hearing their stories, learning their journey, learning about them, and connecting them with people that can help them. And when you do that over a long period of time, really good things come your way.
Well, what I have, and I'll share with the audience, I met Jeff through an introduction. He invited me on this weekly call he has called Shared Connections. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of professionals on there. And there are a lot of those types of calls out there. What I thought was unique about yours is everyone else is kind of using it as kind of a lead magnet, right? They're inviting people. There's a purpose why they're bringing people in. Hey, we're going to get people in. We're going to encourage them to do videos. Oh, what a shock. I help people do videos, right? And with you, it's none of that. It's like, I'm finding out now that you're essentially in transition. You're highly sought after, but you're essentially in transition. And you're still doing this, just helping people, which I think is totally amazing, which is you. That's you. I mean, it just epitomizes who you are. I just think that's awesome.
I appreciate the kind words and the compliment. And I love that you saw that when you came, and it's people like you who are connectors of people as well, always doing those things and helping others. That's it. I mean, that's everything. It's connecting with other people like that, and being around givers and people who want to help other people, just genuinely want to help. Because some of the best referrals I've ever had throughout my career are from people that I never worked with directly, because I just connected them, or I made a connection, or I helped somebody find a job. And whatever it may be, people want to help people and they want to reciprocate. They want to help you too. But one of the things that I never do when you network is to assume that that person that you're networking with is going to be your customer or your client, ever. I come into it saying, I'm assuming you're not going to be my customer or client, but I know that you have built up trust over your career and your life with a whole bunch of people, and I've done the same. And the best part is most of those people are not the same people.
Yeah.
So you know people I don't, and vice versa. So why don't we get to know each other and like each other and trust each other over time? And if we do that and build a real relationship, it's not superficial. It's not for anything. It's just to know each other and like each other. If that happens, then it's, well, how do we help each other? How do we connect each other with other people? And the more you do that, you expand your network massively, and great things happen, and you're going to get all the referrals you ever want.
That's totally insightful, because people come at me. This is, I guess, my experience, and you can echo it or add on or whatever. People come at me and they pitch me. We'll use financial advising. They pitch me, and I tell them the answer is going to be yes or no. Likely no, because I got a guy, right? And I've had a guy for 20 years, so it's likely no. So if you want to keep pitching me, you're going to get a yes or a no. But if you want to have a relationship, it still might be a no, but you'll be part of my world and I'll likely refer you. And people can't see that long range vision. In fact, I just did a podcast talking about, they train gorillas to understand that they could have 2 grapes now, or if they wait 45 minutes, they could have 6. And most gorillas will wait that 45 minutes. Whereas with humans, a lower percentage of humans will opt to have 2 M&Ms now and not wait 45 minutes to get 6. Because, we have this abundance mentality that, you know what, I'm going to pitch Jeff. And if it doesn't work out, there'll be more Jeffs in my life. And then they lose that long-term opportunity, if you will. To me, it's fascinating, totally fascinating.
I completely agree. As a matter of fact, when I tell people a lot about that, I say, hey, we're going to build, this relationship, and we're going to have a conversation, get to know each other and whatever. And it's a small world. It used to be small. It's smaller now after COVID and all this stuff going on and being able to virtually network. But networking in general is a small community, right, of people, and people that do that on a regular basis. So without a doubt, at some point in time down the road, we're going to end up being in a room together somewhere, right? Because we're, around the same types of people, interested in the same things. We're going to be in a room together. And there's a couple ways that it could go, right? We're going to be connected and, oh, hey, Frank, how's it going? It's great to see you again. We catch up. And then I'll use the restroom or something will happen, and I walk away, and somebody's going to walk over to you and say, hey, Frank, I saw you were talking to that Jeff Lord guy. What's his deal? Right? And you're going to either say one of a few things, right? It's, well, I don't really know him. We had a conversation once. It was good, but he never followed up with me, never continued the relationship, whatever, right? Or, oh, I've known him for years now. We talk all the time. And you say some good things about me, right? And if that happens, that might have been that little nudge that put that person over the edge. I was thinking about working with Jeff. I wasn't sure, but you know what? You said he was a good person and I trust you. And that's what put it over the edge. You never gave a direct referral. You never gave even an introduction. It just happened that way. So good news, bad news spreads really fast.
It does. Yeah.
Good news spreads as well, but just not quite as fast.
Yeah.
And one of those things, your reputation is everything. So when you're out there and you're doing things and you're helping other people, people speak well about you. And that's why they want to work with you. If you have the reputation of just going into those pitches, like you said, right? It's first meeting, I'm pitching you and hard selling you and doing this stuff. That rubs people the wrong way.
Yeah. It's funny. I was at a meeting this morning and the banker was sharing that his biggest referral source is a woman who's not even a client of the bank. She sends him more deals and everyone's like kind of flabbergasted. Really? She's not even a client? She says, you know what? He's a young guy. He's probably mid to late 30s. He says, I believe by the time I retire, she'll become a client and the stars just haven't aligned. But I have just done a great job of building a relationship with her. She's always calling me for advice. And it's nothing that I ever get paid for, but I give her business advice and she raves about me. But again, there's a perfect situation where he could press that, try to get her as a client, and burn that bridge and maybe not have her as a client. Here, he's like, you know what? If you never become a client, I love you because you bring me so many clients. It's just amazing how it works.
That's incredible. And it's the power of that relationship is so important, and leave it how it is. It's working the way it is. You're helping her. She's helping you. It's fantastic. Doesn't always work that way either. A lot of times we'll do things for people, help out. And that's the other thing with networking too. Don't have the expectation of getting something back. Good things with karma works, right? You put good things out in the world, good things happen, but it doesn't necessarily happen from the people that you help directly. So, you might help, 100 different people and some random person hears what you're doing and they're the one that ends up helping you. So you never know how it goes. But that's so cool that relationship was what it was and it stayed that way.
Yeah. Well, it's it's a powerful lesson.
Mm-hmm.
I see people out there doing sales training and I'm not picking on anybody in particular. I think there are some good sales trainers out there, but they train about the pitch and the close. That's what their training's on. And what they fall short on is teaching people how to get in the door. That's the key. And if you're doing it right, you're getting in the door and people aren't even kicking the tires at that point, right? They just, you know what? Bob told me, Jeff, I need to do business with you. Can you help me with this problem? Yes, I can. Can I afford you? Yes, you can. Right. I mean, it's not that short circuited, but you're going through those things, but it's not you competing against 3 other people. That person's busy. You've been referred for a reason.
Yeah.
So
it blows. I love that because I resonate with that so much. And one of the stories I like to tell, or analogies I like to tell with networking that I enjoy so much is, when we build trust, right, we have two ways to do things: build trust or borrow trust. And when you're building trust, there's no shortcut, there's no hack, there's no microwave solution to building trust. It's just a long game. You're playing the long game, and it happens over time. And it's funny because sometimes when we're networking and we're in business, we think differently for whatever reason, and we think it works differently. But one of the things I talk to people about, I go, think of whoever your best friend is in the world and picture that person. And I can pretty much guarantee you that relationship is not what it is today because of one meeting, right? This was a series of events that happened over a long period of time, shared experiences, lots of laughs, all sorts of different things connected you to have that strong of a bond with a person. And it doesn't happen in one meeting. Well, let's go into a relationship, right? Or if you're married, you have a spouse, significant other, partner, right? I bet, and nobody's called me out on it yet, so maybe it'll happen to somebody, but I'm assuming you didn't walk into the metaphorical bar and you said, will you marry me? Will you marry me? Will you marry me? Will you marry me to everybody in the room? Right. First of all, if you said that, they should run, right? And if they said, yes, you should run, like something's going on.
Right.
Well, and we can laugh at that because we understand that that's not how you build trust in personal relationships. But what's so funny to me is you take those same people and you move them over into a business relationship and you expect it to work differently.
Right.
it doesn't work that way. It doesn't happen in one meeting. Nobody gives you all their clients in one meeting. Take the time and build a relationship. And what's so cool, that's the building of trust. The borrowing of trust is we've done those things already. You've done that for your whole life and your whole career. You've built trust with many, many people, Frank. I've done the same thing. And because those aren't the same people, we can refer each other when it's appropriate. And why is that referral so strong? Because I don't want to go searching for somebody. I want to borrow the trust that you have in whoever that is and just tell me who to use. So I have that. But now there's a middle ground that's so exciting and important. It still puts a little bit of your reputation on the line, but not as much. But it's called the introduction or connection. It's called the Frank, Dan Horwich, right? Great people. I don't know what's going to happen, but you should both know each other.
Right.
So just connect. Now, again, part of my reputation goes on the line, because if I keep introducing you to a bunch of, schmucks, you're going to say, Jeff, hey, thanks. I appreciate you thinking of me. Stop thinking of me. Right. But if I give you people that are really great people and you're having great conversations, you're going to appreciate every conversation and every introduction, because you don't know where it's going to go. And that's the magic. And that's the beauty of networking. We don't have to know where it's all going to go. It might be a best friend that you have for life. You may share. I love to fish. Maybe I have a fishing buddy that we get to go on trips together, or whatever it turns out to be. Or I have 4 kids, right? Maybe it's somebody else with 4 kids and our kids get along and play and have a great time. You just don't know. Or it could be a perfect business relationship and you start a company together. You just don't know.
No, I totally get it. It's interesting, as you were talking, I just reflect upon conversations with people who they think somehow or another, because they have a quota or a sales goal, that suspends the natural laws. Like gravity's not supposed to work. Building trust. I have a quota, so trust doesn't matter all of a sudden. No, it does matter. It takes time. It takes time. Well, what's the shortcut? There really isn't. There really isn't. And even, like you say, build or borrow trust. You're having to build trust somewhere. You're building it with the person you want to connect with, or you're building it with somebody who's going to introduce you. You can't on LinkedIn reach out to somebody and say, I see you're connected to so-and-so. Can you put in a good word for me? I don't know you. I haven't built the trust. And yet people will do that. We're kind of running short on time. I know you've got things. This great conversation. What's a good way to get a hold of you? Through LinkedIn?
Absolutely, yeah. Look me up on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with anybody that understands the value of a relationship and builds relationships and really understands that giving mentality, like you, Frank. Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn is a perfect way to get a hold of me.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much for having me on. This was amazing.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.